my audio when I was recording, so I didn't want to like.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah. This will capture the recording, the audio, and then you can just download this file at the end of the session, and you can send that over to Micah, so he can get the copy.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been doing good. I've been doing good. You seem like you're doing well yourself.
I'm doing pretty good, man. It's a busy time, and it's a crazy time too. I'm sort of psychically expanding in like a big way, and I'm becoming so aware of just the energy and reality, and it's sort of a funny process because with more awareness, there's sort of more responsibility, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
And it's been a kind of an interesting time because there's this sort of academic responsibility I'm tending to get my acupuncture license, plus the clients and the business, and then also just all these things in the world I'm like now dialing into that I'm sort of realizing I'm connected to, and now I have to use my power and my imagination to consciously respond. So it's
Yeah,
sort of
exactly.
yeah, very full
Yeah,
plate.
right. Like all this stuff is like, okay, what must I believe for this to manifest?
Yeah,
Uh, so
yeah.
it's always. I always surprise myself. So I don't know. I guess we're getting to know ourselves a little better.
Yeah, exactly. And you just getting to see how just how connected, we are to everything. And with that awareness, you get the ability to sort of influence these things because now you get to on your end sort of shapeshift how you're contributing, right? Exactly
Exactly.
like you said, how you're contributing to its existence.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, great stuff, man. Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. I will get my alarm clock situated. So this is an hour session.
Okay.
So we'll go for and if we finish early, that's okay. But whatever you feel like doing, we'll go through all the questions that Micah has. Um, so that'll be for five.
If if we got through it before that, I had a few questions I was gonna ask.
Oh yeah,
So, but
feel
if we get to it, we get to it. If we don't, we don't.
sure thing. No problem. No problem. We got a whole hour, so whatever comes up, we will be able to get to it in that time.
Really appreciate you for doing this, by the way.
Oh
Appreciate
yeah,
you
man.
sending.
Thank you, thank you. It's one of my favorite things to do, and you know how it is, right? You just find something you're good at, and you're like, all right, I guess I was put here to do this. It's a little weird, but I feel like I don't know what else I'd be doing.
I feel it.
All right, well I'm gonna dive in. I will see you again. Actually, let me get a different alarm. One of my alarms needs Spotify to function, and because it's on airplane mode, it probably won't go off. So we'll use this one.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'll see you again at the end of the session, Rem. Have fun.
All right. Thank you.
All right, and we thank you so much for the unique co-creation of this interaction as always, it is our civilization's highest joy, passion, and excitement to be able to speak to you and to all members of your species through the channel. And we extend to you the following question: how are you doing this day of your time?
I'm absolutely wonderful.
Oh, we are so delighted to hear that you are experiencing bliss and wonder in your experience of unfoldment.
How are you doing?
We are ecstatic and delighted to be able to have the co-creation with you.
Okay, right on. I suppose it's okay if I just go into the questions.
By all means, utilize the time together however you deem appropriate.
Beautiful. What density/dimension does our soul or higher mind operate from? Could you name 3 different permission slips to receive direct energy transmission from the higher soul to assist our intentions?
All right. Understand what you consider to be the idea of the higher self exists in a 5th dimensional framework. It in and of itself is 5th density in terms of what you understand as its energy state. The soul is in a 6th dimensional framework, and it is 6th density. In relationship to the idea of permission slips to commune with these different levels of your consciousness, the most basic one is the idea of feeling the heart. Feeling the heartbeat. This is the most basic way to begin to commune with your own higher mind. For understand, your higher self, which acts as a translator of your soul's energy, communicates with your physicality, with your physical body, through the heart. The heart then allows for every cell of the body to be vibrationally entrained by its frequency. So the whole body, including the brain, is working as a unified team led by the heart. When you utilize instead the brain as the leader of that team, the brain and the heart become desynchronized, and communication between your conscious mind and the higher self then gets a little fuzzy. It becomes harder to hear. So listen to your heartbeat. Place your hands on your heart. Meditate into your heartbeat. Breathe into your heart and feel with every beat of your heart that ripple. Feel the ripple spread throughout your entire physicality, and that will allow for the entrainment effect that we mentioned earlier to then be very pronounced. And spending 10 minutes in this state, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you will find that you will begin to think, but not with your brain, not with your physical mind, but with your heart. It's a type of feeling and thinking simultaneously. And this is a way you can begin to understand, in a conscious way, the language that your higher self speaks. So that would be our first suggestion. Our second suggestion you're already well aware of. However, it is the idea of following your passion and following your joy, because that's how you live in your life the energy that you are tuning into when you watch your heartbeat. For it's one thing to get into the state of being that represents the higher mind through observing the heart, feeling the heart, and actually acting that state of being out through action. When you act it out, when you live it, then you are actually channeling your higher mind. You are channeling your soul. So when you follow your passion and your joy, you are allowing for that connection, for that relationship to not just be an energy state, but to actually be, in and of a sense, a living sculpture. That living sculpture being how you choose to express yourself in the physical reality. That would be the second way. The third way you can begin to allow for this communication to be clearer is to develop a relationship with what you understand to be the practice of lucid dreaming. If you can allow for yourself to remain conscious as your body falls asleep, you will begin to, in and of a sense, perceive yourself and your reality from a point of view that is higher in frequency than the frequency of the physical mind. Through that state of being, through maintaining that level of awareness, you will be training your conscious mind how to experience creation and reality from the point of view of the higher self. So developing some type of relationship and practice with lucid dreaming would be our third permission slip, our third suggestion for you. And these three things together will allow for you to develop not just a belief, but a knowingness that you are more than the physical mind, that you are even more than the physical heart, that you are spirit itself, that you are all that is expressing itself through your unique character. And we thank you for this question.
Thank you. That was a wonderful answer.
Yes, you are very welcome.
What density dimension is the causal plane in?
This is what you would understand to be more of a fifth dimensional level of reality.
Oh, so it's like higher mind, causal plane.
Yes, very much so.
Place.
Very much so. What you understand to be astral, in and of a sense, would be lower fifth density for the most part, as well as higher fourth density. This is the astral zone for the most part. By the time you're in higher fifth density, you are interacting with what you call the causal plane.
Causal?
Causal plane.
Oh, causal.
Sometimes when the channel translates, the words can get slightly jumbled. So we understand that pronunciation at times can be a mild issue in relationship to translating our energy through a human consciousness.
No worries. Could you name 3 permission slips for where? Oh, can you name 3 permission slips for where and how to store beliefs somewhere they are kept safe permanently until otherwise specifically intended?
Understand the belief systems are stored, so to say, housed as energetic patterns in what you consider to be the subconscious mind. Now, to access the subconscious mind, all you must do is bring your awareness inside your body, feeling inside of yourself. The interior of your body represents the idea of the conscious, rather subconscious mind, the inside. So when you tune in to the inside of your body, you are actually accessing a representation of the dimension of the self where belief systems are stored. Now, you have the ability to program what you consider to be bones, organs, glands with specific belief systems that really allow for the belief systems to entangle with your consciousness in a very physical way. And you can code belief systems in a certain way that says, when I am in this situation, this belief will be active. However, understand that is already in and of a sense built in. For recognize the belief systems that you have are beliefs that contain subject matter, yourself and situations in your physical reality. So as you simply formulate a belief, because subject matter is already involved in the nature of the belief system, the set and setting for its functioning is already built into how it's coded. So you can take a moment to really emphasize the idea of the subject matter and the set and setting related to when its functioning is designed to commence. However, that may be slightly redundant depending on the nature of the belief system, because that type of programming is already a part of how the belief system is organized. So pay attention to the specific subject matter that you are defining, that you are creating certain beliefs around, and then pay attention to which aspects of your anatomy most greatly connect symbolically to that subject matter. And that's a way you can begin to understand which aspects of the inside of the body, which are in and of a sense symbols for different realms of the subconscious, will be of greatest relevance and of greatest resonance to the specific beliefs that you desire to embody. And this is a way you can really physicalize the belief systems so they become a little bit easier to act out in your life. Because remember, it's one thing to have a belief, and it's one thing to generate an energy state around that belief, and it's an entirely different thing to take the energy state and act it out. So through making these belief system connections to different zones of your inner reality, you allow for that energy to be more physicalized, so it's easier for you to live it. Thus, it is more easy for you to experience the idea of those associated realities than unfolding before you, because you've already grounded them through connecting these belief structures to the idea of your inner anatomy.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
What is the difference between the positional aspect of the chakras, such as front and back, middle? What about core versus peripheral?
One moment. Please repeat the question from the beginning. The audio was a little choppy.
Okay. What is the difference between the positional aspect of chakras, such as the front and back, middle, sides? What about the core versus peripheral?
All right. What you understand to be the center of the chakras represents a unified point that blends the idea of masculine, feminine expressions of the chakras. It's a nexus, a convergence point that blends in conscious and subconscious expressions of the chakra energy, and as we have said, masculine, feminine expressions of the chakra energy. So that center convergence point of the chakras relates primarily to what you understand as the central channel, which runs from the crown to the pelvic floor through the center of the body. This is where all of the different chakras converge with one another. The front of the chakras, the anterior aspect of them, represents more of a masculine expression of the chakras.
What is masculine? What is masculine and feminine here?
Masculine relates to the idea of projective.
Okay.
It's more outwardly expressive and relates primarily to the idea of what you consider to be the conscious mind.
Okay. And then feminine is receptive.
Feminine would be the posterior aspect of the chakras, relating more to energies that you are receiving, that you are taking in, and it relates to more of the subconscious, the unconscious. And the idea is it's the center of the chakras along that core channel that blend these energies. The sides, so to say, of the chakras primarily serve the function of pulling in environmental information. So the chakra can understand in a bigger way how to calibrate and adjust itself in relationship to the idea of the inner and outer realities. So the sides, so to say, the lateral aspects of the chakras, this is mainly done, the main function here is to gather information and in many ways to gather in energy. Does this answer the question sufficiently?
I think so, yes.
All right.
If someone experiences themselves as multiple different aspects of their personality that seem to be at different levels of development that conflict with one another, and these different aspects of the personality seem to sometimes interfere with the accuracy of intentions being what a person is actually trying to intend, can you give 3 permission slips for someone to feel more centered in their preferred sense of self and make intentions unaffected by other parts of themselves?
The idea is to bring all of these different aspects together into a center point. The only reason there's the experiences of divisions within the personality is because of belief systems that make certain aspects of the personality seem unacceptable. And then the idea of a super personality, the one that is most predominantly utilized, then attempts to push all of the other ones away. And it is that pushing away and that resistance that then creates the idea of an internal drama or conflict between the idea of all of these different personality aspects. But it's all actually one personality. It's just a personality that has, through belief systems, created judgments about itself, which then create divisions within itself. So the idea is to not so much attempt to get these things to work together, but more so to bring them all together, and they naturally will fall into harmony. So the heartbeat, as we mentioned, will assist here, in particular combined with the breath. So feeling the heart beating, breathing, and allowing for yourself to really get to a point in your awareness where you can feel your entire body at once. You can feel the entire interior of your body. And allow for yourself to feel the heartbeat and to breathe with your whole body. Feel your whole body working together. And as you go into this state of deep relaxation, feeling your whole body as one cohesive unit, you can then insert into this state of being different affirmations which represent the idea of different belief systems you desire to crystallize, such as, I accept and allow all aspects of myself. I am fundamentally perfect and worthy of existence. These types of things really allow for yourself to feel the underlying energy of these ideas, of these beliefs, really rippling through your body, making contact with every cell. And you will begin to, in and of a sense, really train your subconscious mind to operate as one consciousness. And this is a way you can bring all of those different aspects together. And that can really assist you in getting into that state of mind that represents the unified consciousness. The idea is, in tandem with this process, this practice, get in touch with those judgments. Reveal those judgments to yourself by inquiring about what the negative belief systems must be in order for you to experience that type of internal division. And just remain open, remain receptive, remain aware, and allow that information to come to you. You don't have to search for it. It doesn't have to be a mental process, as you say. Allow for yourself to simply receive and let it be obvious. And when you receive those ideas, those negative opinions that create the experience of division within the self, cross-reference those ideas against what you know to be fundamentally true. Fundamental truths include you and all forms of consciousness are fundamentally unconditional love. You as a consciousness are immortal, eternal, indestructible. And you have the ability unconditionally to create whatever experiences in your reality are truly relevant for who you are. These three things are fundamental to you and are fundamental to all beings that exist. So, take the negative idea that you reveal to yourself and cross-reference it against these three fundamentals. If the idea doesn't make sense when you compare it to these three fundamentals, it will naturally then look illogical and it will automatically be released. Because you're not going to hold on to something that truly doesn't make sense for you. So, this is a way you can get in touch with all of these different aspects of the personality, how you can experience them from a unified state of being, and ultimately how you can let go of the judgments and the perspectives that ultimately create the division in the first place. The final thing we'll say is, again, once you have really learned the state of unification within yourself, act it out. You must take new actions that represent the unified self. You cannot repeat the old actions and expect to be unified in how you experience yourself. You must take new actions that truly represent the unified personality. So, have fun.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Moving back a little bit, I accidentally skipped a question. This is related to the chakra one. Where does the throat chakra end and the ajna begin? What is the difference between the function of the ajna and throat chakra as far as energetically in relationship to creating our reality? And how, in addition, how does the back of the nasal passage relate to these?
All right. What you understand to be the throat and the third eye chakra work together to create the experience. However, they do this in different ways. What you consider to be the third eye chakra projects the energy that you experience as the visual information in your physical reality experience. It's not its only function, but that's one of its major functions in terms of how you experience your creative process of physical reality. So the third eye chakra will project out the idea of the belief system energy templates as the physical reality world that you appear to be in. The throat chakra also projects, and its relationship of reality creation is less about the idea of how you create the outer reality, externally speaking, but has more to do with how you create yourself in relationship to that outer reality projection. Think of the throat chakra as the chakra of self-expression. And it is really all a matter of how you express yourself in the physical reality that determines your true relationship with it. That's why you have the phrase, actions speak louder than words. You can really understand your true relationship with the outer reality if you observe how you're acting, how you're expressing yourself. So the throat chakra is designed to represent your energy and your relationship with the idea of the outer reality. The third eye projects the belief system, both conscious and unconscious information outwardly, so to say, as the visual experience of the outer reality. And they work together to, in and of a sense, assist you in creating your experience of being a character in some kind of infinite world that is physical in your reality. The back of the nasal passage, as you say, the posterior of the nasal cavity, in many ways is designed to be a bridge of communication that links the idea of these energy centers. So as the back of the nasal passages is stimulated with oxygen and with the subtle energies present in your atmosphere, it allows for there to be a harmonious communication between these two energy centers, and ultimately it allows for information to be able to travel throughout the system altogether. The system being, of course, your physical body.
Beautiful. What are the pros and cons of the belief in the inner child? If someone were to get rid of their belief in the inner child, wouldn't they also be removing the foundations of their personality? What advice would you give to someone who struggles with managing their inner child, who relates with their inner child as a dated idea they don't identify with and wants to move on from?
All right. Well, understand, the inner child is simply an energy pattern. It's an energy pattern stored within your psychology. So recognize all realities, past, present, and future, are existing simultaneously. And because you have the understanding of yourselves as a linear being, you oftentimes will factor into your sense of who you are and your relationship with how you're living your life information about what you remember as your younger self, your child self. So you will oftentimes draw upon the energies of this child self to understand and contextualize, again, your relationship with the physical reality. So what you consider to be an inner child energy is simply an internalized energy pattern that represents a blending of who you are in the now and a blending with the past self that is the child version of you. So it's a blend of both you in the now and this other self. It's not purely just you, and it's not purely just that past child self. It's a unified energy pattern that contains frequencies of both. And you use this energy pattern as a sort of anchor, so you can, no matter how old in terms of linear time you become, always remain aware of what it is to be a child. And this has many benefits, for it allows for you to have greater access to your imagination. It allows for you to have greater awareness of the realm of spirit. And it also allows for you to really get in touch with what you would understand to be the pre-incarnate reasons for having the incarnation in the first place. Because the child is so aware of itself and its energy in a way that is very unfiltered, through communing with your inner child, you can really gain an understanding of what resonates with you and what has to do with why you are here, which is simply to be yourself, and what does not, so you can have an easier time discerning between those frequencies. But if one cuts themselves off from that energy, then it's almost as if they create the experience of losing their sense of true self, because it is the child, again, that is most consciously aware of the origin, so to say, which is spirit. You never, in and of a sense, leave your point of origin, for you're already in spirit having this physical experience, and it is the inner child that is aware of this in a greater way. So to cut yourself off from this energy, to repress this energy, ultimately will lead to the idea of a sense of disconnection from the imagination and a sense of disconnection from the realm of spirit. And it will also likely exacerbate what you consider to be the process of aging.
Okay.
So it's important here to really develop a healthy awareness of this inner child energy. And remember, it's just an energy pattern that contains information about your childhood personality and your childhood spirit and the spirit awareness of the child. So you can maintain that throughout your life. If you feel as if there's some kind of resistance to that or some kind of judgment around that, that's not so much an actual judgment about the concept of the inner child. It likely more so has to do with the idea of judgments about oneself in a very deep way, in a way that relates to your fundamental essence. So we would encourage you to get in touch with these ideas, because to repress them, to push them away, will ultimately create the idea of more confusion within the consciousness.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Can you Can you give a list of reasons why humans might subconsciously feel like there should be an adversary in life? Can you give a list of various reasons why people might also Oh, actually, sorry, this might be a different question. Go ahead with the first. My fault.
That's all right. One of the reasons individuals will create the sense of an adversary or a rival or an opponent in their projections of the physical reality experience oftentimes has to do with the idea of belief systems that are based in lack. And there's a few different angles that we can take in relationship to explaining this. Some of these angles represent the idea of a sense of lack within oneself that relates to a deficiency of power. Your power, of course, being your ability to express and create whatever it is you prefer in your experience. And when individuals feel as if somehow they are lacking in power, there will oftentimes be the projection externally of another individual whom is perceived as a threat to one's power, whom is perceived as the one responsible for one's sense of deficiency in power. And that then creates externally the idea of an adversary, an opponent. So oftentimes in an attempt to compensate for that sense of a lack of power, individuals will then attempt to outwardly demonstrate their power in ways that oftentimes are perceived as conflicts between oneself and the sense of an adversary, whoever represents that. And that can play out in many different ways, such as social conflicts, all the way up into global conflicts. So when individuals really get in touch with the knowingness that they are, in and of themselves, unlimited, unconditional power incarnate, there's really no room to experience another person as an adversary, because you ultimately, at that level of awareness, recognize the other person is just a projection of you. And that you have the power to create whatever you prefer. There's no one or no thing that can ever truly stop you from doing that and can never take that away. And knowing this, you naturally experience yourself in a way that is unified with all that is, because that's the true power of all that is. And from that point of view, there's not really any room for an adversary. But when an individual is operating from a point of view that is energetically lower than that perspective, then the experience of an adversary can be unconsciously created through feeling as if you're powerless, and that someone is going to either reinforce that reality or is going to exacerbate that reality. And then the title of adversary is placed upon them, and a person will attempt to defend themselves from that experience through creating some kind of conflict between themselves and the one they interpret as the adversary.
That's a beautiful wording as well. I loved it.
Yes, thank you.
Well, what are the various reasons people self-sabotage, like belief structure-wise, I suppose?
Well, there can be all types of reasons. One major one has to do with the sense of not being worthy to actually receive whatever it is they say they prefer. So they will say in a conscious way, oh, I really desire that. That would really be exciting. But subconsciously they hold on to a belief system that says, but I'm not worthy of experiencing that which excites me. I'm not worthy of experiencing that which represents my true nature, that which represents my highest passion. So they create a mixed effect in their external reality. They will take certain steps to give rise to that preferred manifestation, but they will also take steps and utilize energies that then keep that preferred manifestation at bay. That oftentimes has to do with the idea of why individuals create self-sabotage. So it comes down to self-worth ultimately. And again, as you create that unified awareness in yourself, those different personality aspects will begin to come together. And as they come together, you can ultimately let go of those belief systems that say you may not be worthy. So you can then no longer empower those realities through your external actions. You will learn to only empower the realities that represent your preference, and that will then be your experience.
What are the effects of fields produced by the Taurus Orgonite devices created by Eye Pyramids?
Please repeat the beginning part of the question.
Oh, okay. What are the effects of the fields produced by the Taurus Orgonite devices created by Eye Pyramids?
There can be a few effects, but in general, the major effect is the idea of allowing for a certain type of portal energy to be opened in the space where the Orgonite device is placed, and through this portal, certain forms of energy are able to then access your frequency of physical reality that represent what you would consider to be energies of alignment. It represents energies of alignment that can have an effect on one's body and can have an effect on the energy of a particular environment. This has to do with the idea of the combination of organic and inorganic materials placed together. It allows for a certain type of energy to be stabilized, so this type of portal can be opened, allowing for these energies of alignment to then emerge, so to say, in the space. Remember, your bodies are, in and of a sense, Orgonite devices. For you are a combination of organic and inorganic materials in relationship to the idea of your cells and living tissues, and in relationship to the idea of the minerals and the metals that make up your system. You are a blend of organic and inorganic material, thus allowing for a similar type of portal to be experienced through your own physicality. So you are a living Orgonite device. Now remember, individual belief system will actually play a role on how those Orgonite devices function. If an individual believes that they do nothing and that they are devoid of any effect, then they will not be able to perceive those energies of alignment, thus prohibiting them from experiencing alignment effects through interaction with the Orgonite technology. So it's important to utilize belief systems about this technology that support your desired effect, so that way you can experience that through working with them.
I think sometimes people confuse conscious thoughts with belief systems. There can be an element of denial. How can people be very, I guess, integrated with knowing and being in tune with their true belief systems? Because there seems to be a self-deception that can happen sometimes.
Think of it like this. Belief systems are the roots of a tree. Thoughts are the leaves.
Oh, okay.
So when you see a certain thought pattern emerge, that can clue you into what your, in and of a sense, true beliefs are. Remember, all beliefs are true in that they will create effects in your reality. Some of those belief systems will, more so than others, represent the energy of your fundamental nature. So it's not that some are more true than others, so to say. It is more so that some are more in alignment with who and what you actually are. But they're all true in that they can all work, and that any experience, so to say, can be empowered through belief systems.
Wow, thank you.
So pay attention to the thoughts. If you're finding you are thinking thoughts that are painful, that don't represent your preference, that will clue you into the idea that you're using belief systems that are creating real effects, true effects, but are ultimately out of alignment with who you are. So again, take that moment to really go within, to slow down, to feel the interior of your body, to get in touch with the emotion, the feeling connected to those thoughts. For some individuals, that can be a little challenging because they may put up certain walls around the feelings. The idea is to draw backwardly from the thoughts to the feeling. And from the feeling, you then access the roots of the tree, the belief level. And that's when you can more easily receive that information. Just ask to receive it. Ask yourself, what must I be believing in to create this phenomenon I'm experiencing in my life in a negative way? And let information begin to come. Remember, stay present, stay open, stay receptive. It's not so much a mental process. It's a process of being in the moment and a process of allowing yourself to see. But if you're searching, you're too busy looking to see. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I have. This is a question that I've been trying to. I don't really understand what it means. So there's scientific studies, and oftentimes what will happen is the body can have certain feelings. Like, let's say the person doesn't get that much sleep one night, cortisol will be released the next day. Um, I assume because it's ancient beliefs in survival in terms of linear time. When the body doesn't get that much sleep, it thinks that it might die, so it puts on the cortisol to help survive. But it
Yes,
operates in kind of flight mechanism.
yes,
But
you are
our
accurate in
conscious
your
mind
assessment.
could, okay.
Yes,
But the
continue.
conscious mind will sometimes not be aware that that's what's happening in terms of physicality, but it'll conceptualize it and it'll say, "Oh, I'm aggravated today." Uh,
Yes,
so my question is, how? I don't even know what the question is. Hold
that's all
on.
right.
What is the line between your body telling you how you feel and truly knowing how you really feel? If that makes sense.
All right. There are, again, a few different ways this can be looked at. Understand the body will reflect back to you belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
Always. So the body may give you certain messages that may seem to conflict or be contradictory to perceptions the conscious mind is holding, but the actual messages from the body as biological sensations related to lack of sleep, related to hunger, these sensations come from beliefs that are used. So, for example,
Okay.
an individual may not get a lot of sleep, as you have said, and they may wake up feeling angry and agitated. There will be unconscious beliefs that are a part of this, such as I need a certain amount of sleep in able to thrive, in order to be myself, in order to be happy and healthy, and the body will reflect this back to the idea of the conscious mind through creating sensations that relate to agitation, frustration, being slightly misaligned with the natural self. However, there may also be emotions that are, in and of a sense, psychological in nature that relate to other types of negative belief systems that then make themselves known to the conscious mind through that opportunity, which is represented as the body being in a state of being that's a little more misaligned, a little bit more negative, a little more disharmonious. So unconscious beliefs about sleep and about the physicality can be connected to this, as well as other belief systems that may be about all types of different issues that are also negative in nature. That can be an opportunity for some of those beliefs to arise, and that's actually why some individuals put themselves in those kinds of situations, where they
Okay.
create the idea of biological stressful situations and experiences as an actual opportunity to get in touch with some of those energies so they can let those belief systems go.
So the personality is non-physical, to my understanding.
Correct.
Do so emotions physically crystallize as sensations in the body, but also in the reality as well, simultaneously.
They represent the idea of fields of energy patterns that, in and of a sense, guide how the physical reality expresses itself. So your emotions are not physically based, but they have physical counterparts that express as electrical impulses, neurotransmitters, hormones, all of this. It's not that these things cause your emotions, they are reflections of the emotions.
Okay, so is there a way to tune in with the non-physicality of emotions rather than the effects of emotions?
Yes, absolutely. That again comes from the idea of going within, feeling the heart, relaxing, breathing, allowing. And that state of being, which is more neutral and more positive because of its acceptance of what is occurring, then allows for you to, again, just like we had mentioned in the beginning, It allows for you to raise your frequency so you can begin to experience your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts, your physicality from the point of view not so much of the physical mind, but of the higher mind. And
Oh,
that's
okay.
when you have greater access to that energetic template level. But if
Okay.
you just rely on the physical mind, it's more challenging to get in touch with that level because it's like trying to see the forest through the trees.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Um, there's some, okay, so there's a difference between visualization and hallucination. Yes. I mean, not hallucination, but like changes in perception. When what we usually call hallucinations is an actual change in the way we perceive reality. But visualizations, or they activate different parts of the brain. Is that correct so far?
Well, understand that what you consider to be a hallucination is, in and of a sense, a visualization that an individual is not conscious that they are creating.
So, what is the difference between levels of creation that, how do I, what is this, what is the thing that separates a hallucination that is personal between an actual change in the personal reality?
The idea of one's alignment with the energy of that visual that they're perceiving. When an individual takes the visualization, the imagery that they're receiving, and they then channel that through them by tuning to its frequency and acting it out, that then is what creates the actual shifting experience in the physical reality. That's what creates the experience of the physical reality changing in a way that represents the energy of that visual.
Well,
So it's
not so
all,
much visual, I mean hallucination, because so I can imagine something in my mind, but there, and I can act it out, and I've noticed that manifests. But my question is more for people who hallucinate things, and then they, let's say, they have a person who is not a real physical person in the consensus reality. They're communicating with this person as if they are real, but they don't. Is it a trick to say that they don't manifest that person in a reality? Or is it faulty to say that because I'm perceiving it from my vantage point?
well, understand that if they are acting it out, then it becomes more and more and more real to them. They are tuning in to a real energy that is imperceivable to the idea of other individuals. It's real in the sense that they're able to perceive it and that they're able to experience it.
So what
Now,
separates it from being just their personal experience and other people's?
the ability for others to match that frequency. If
Oh,
other people were to match that frequency, it would not be a personal reality in that way. It would become a collective reality. So other
okay, because
individuals
all
much,
reality is subjective.
they are all subjective. So you are
Okay,
all
so that makes
appearing
sense.
to be in the same reality, but you're all technically in your own unique bubble realities.
Okay, that's sufficient. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm, so there seems to be a lot of aspects of sexuality on our planet. There's the romantic aspect, there's a sexual association aspect, there's a libido aspect, and there's the physical response, which is the arousal aspect. On your planet, what is sexual association? What, because when somebody has, I guess what we would call pedophile disorder or pedophilic disorder, they
Yes.
have sexual associations with children, sometimes only months old. They sexualize sometimes characteristics, but also physical aspects as well. What happens there, and is that there's something I don't know. I don't know what I'm asking, but I'm curious what mechanically, from your perspective, is happening.
There can be a few things going on. Recognize many of those individuals whom have that particular disorder, they themselves, for the most part, had some form of sexual trauma at a young age. Most of them, from our point of view. And due to this idea of the, so to say, introduction of sexual energy to that developing childlike personality, it then creates in the adult mind an association between the idea of sexuality and the idea of being a child and children.
Yeah.
So they then interpret the idea of their own sexual energy as an impulse to act out sexually towards children. So that, for the most part, is where that is coming from. If it is not a form of sexual abuse, sometimes it can be a form of physical abuse and can have more to do, again, with what we mentioned earlier, of an individual feeling like they are somehow deficient in power, they're somehow lacking in power, so they need to then do something in the external reality to demonstrate their perspective of power to compensate for that sense of inner lack. And children are oftentimes seen as powerless, so they, for those individuals, become, in and of a sense, easy targets to be able to play out that situation externally. These are two major reasons why this can occur.
Yeah. I've also seen it as like sexual suppression when they're young as well, and then they never evolve. Like, because I guess when you're a child, you're attracted to people your age, but if you judge your sexuality and then you keep growing, your sexuality doesn't grow with you, and then sometimes people can get older and then still, having not accepted their sexuality, still feel that way that they did when they were young.
This is very observant of you. This is another reason why this can occur. As we have said, there are a few different reasons this can play out. And as individuals get more in tune with themselves, and as they learn to express themselves in ways that are really representative of who they are, these types of disorders, these types of patterns can begin to fall away. They're not necessarily as hardwired and as permanent as individuals make them out to be. These things can change as the underlying energy patterns are changed.
Yeah, I got that impression too. I noticed that my sexuality has changed a lot just on my own different ideas and different relating of it. So it's led to me asking a lot of things because I'm starting to get confused by what is, I don't know, what my next question is, what is libido in your perspective?
One moment.
Okay.
We are adjusting the channel's alarm. We will take one more question.
Oh, okay. In your perception, what is libido exactly?
In the most basal perspectives, it represents creative energy.
Why is it so often funneled sexually, though?
It has to do with the idea of many of you only relating to your creativity at that level in a sexual way.
Okay.
It's a certain level of creative energy that is higher in frequency, and that translates as an arousal type of energy, because if that were followed to its end result, the expression of it could be a child. That's how high frequency it is. It's a very high form of creative energy that biologically will give rise, so to say, to another human life. And many of you are still learning how to express that level of creative energy in ways that are not just for reproductive purposes. So as you learn how to express yourself in bigger and bigger and bigger ways that represent you on bigger levels, then it will become easier for you to really channel that energy you call libido into other dimensions of your life that are less overtly sexual in nature.
Okay. Well,
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
All right, all right. We thank you so much for this unique co-creative interaction, and as always, our civilization's unconditional love, joy, and appreciation to you and to all members of your human family.
Thank you. You as well.
And thank you. Good day and pleasant waking dreams.
What's up, Tyler?
Hey, what's up, man? How was that for you?
That was great. It was great. I even got to ask a few questions I had.
Awesome, awesome. Oh man, that was a lot of fun, dude. That was a lot of fun. Great, both you and Micah had great questions, man. Really, you're both really thoughtful and asking big stuff, which I think is the coolest way to use these sessions, personally. Because then you get like super illuminating answers, you know?
Yeah, I really like Micah asked a question like, what are some of the beliefs why people create adversaries? I thought that was such a good question. Like the things that came out too, I'm gonna revisit it and take notes a little bit at some point. But yeah, this is really cool, and I appreciate you so much.
Oh, I appreciate you too, man. Thank you, thank you. I gotta sign off now. I have another person at 5:30, so I gotta take a little break
Hey,
and just
say no more.
yeah, get back in tune with the physical world a little bit. But I'll
Yeah.
stop our recording now. Micah, if you're watching this, much love, brother. Have a great day.